here to help you create a culture.
Okay, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. How are we doing? Fantastic. All right, thank you for joining in. This is all about a panel on creating a culture to really win with women. My name is Joni Stuker. I have been a communication consultant to the auto industry for 30 years. Which is a really long time. Prior to the 30 years, I actually sold cars. And I think I was 2 years old. But when I was on that retail floor, I remember standing there and thinking, you know, I'm the only female salesperson on this floor, but you give us, say, 2 years, maybe 5 years to the max, and we women are going to be running all these dealerships. We're going to be in charge. That's what I thought. And I advanced 30 years later, and we're really overwhelmingly not. So there's an awful lot of things that are important, I think, to all of us here. And we're going to go through a lot of the realities and give you very concrete ways to correct this. I mean, we have to look at this. Women influence the majority of all buying decisions. We're a very powerful force, yet we're the least recognized in so many positions in dealerships. So we need to look at that together and figure out why. As I mentioned myself, in the last 30 years, I have done an awful lot of consulting beyond the auto industry, working with the RV industry, NASCAR Corporation, a lot of different diversity. It's not just me, though. I have a phenomenal team that I'm very proud of. I want to introduce Sherry Waters. Sherry's the president of the Dealership Consulting Division of Ask Patty. I also want to make a note that Ask Patty is the reason that this was organized, so that's a huge thank you. Sherry was a general manager, and it took an awful lot of obstacles to make it up to that point in a very male-dominated industry. Sherry, I'd love you to say a quick hello.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here. It's a real honor, and I'm very passionate about the topic we're going to discuss today.
Okay, cool. That was really brief for you. Okay. All right. Our next gentleman, Craig Lockhart, a 43-year Green Pea. I love it because he's actually older than me. Yes. All right. Right, there you go. Okay, Green Pea in the auto industry. He's really done everything. He started as a porter all the way up to president, and this began really in the 80s. So, Craig, you bring a lot to the table. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Complete crazy honor to be here with my much younger, brighter automotive sisters.
Smart man.
I really, yes, I'm learning. So I'm really honored to be here, and great to see all you folks here to learn something today about how we can affect some real change in our industry. Thanks.
Okay, fantastic. And last but not least, we've got Lisa Copeland. Lisa Copeland is a leader in the automotive industry. This is important, distinguished by Automotive News in 2015 as one of the top 100 leading women in North American auto industry. Lisa brings out a tremendous amount of experience to the table on this format. And Lisa, I'd love for you to say hi.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm super happy because I saw like this many people in the whole building. So just the fact that y'all all came and showed up, thank you. So it must mean that this topic is just as important to you and your dealerships and your organizations as it is to us. And so just congratulations for even coming. And I think together we can revolutionize the auto industry and sell a lot more cars by including women.
Right, and that's truly our bottom line. Okay, let's get started. It's important for us to really look at the challenges that we face today. NADA recently reported that there's a 90% turnover rate for women in automotive dealership sales roles. Guys, that's saying 9 out of 10 females that are hired in retail sales leave. That is a startling statistic. Sherry, why do you think that number's so high?
You know, we talk about this, and really what it is, it's the culture within the organization that we really need to take a look at. And I believe that the first thing that we really need to do is make a commitment that we want to change the cultures in our store to include women. And I think that's the first move in the right direction.
Okay. 18.5% of active employees on new car dealership payrolls were women, and it increased less than 1 point. That's terrible. Only 4% of women in dealerships are general managers, and that was as of the year 2015. Only 4%. Now, Sherry, I'm going back to you. You were a GM.
Yes.
Why so few?
it's hard, like we talk about, if you don't have a base to start, and this is one of the things we were discussing earlier, is that, even recruiting women as salespeople, to be able to keep them, if you have a 90% turnover rate, how are they then going to escalate into management? And so we need to take a look at it right at the beginning level.
Okay. And women represent only 8% of all active employees, yet, think about that, over 91% are the women that are in support positions. Lisa, in your store, how did you make that change?
I was very intentional, and I use the word, you'll hear it a lot from me, but you've got to be intentional in your hiring practices, not only to hire women, but diverse candidates. And your team needs to mirror the demographic of who's coming in the front door. That increases ROI in the store. And I think that, again, you've got to be intentional to, number one, change the culture, but number two, that you're committed to the culture.
Okay. Any questions or input right now? Anything? Everybody still awake? Okay, good. All right. Let's continue on. Hey, women buy more than half of the new cars in the U.S. and influence over 80%. This is interesting. Women also request over 65% of all the service work that's performed. Sherry, in your store, how did you help women feel more comfortable in that service drive?
And that's a very interesting topic, because that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we have in the dealerships now, is making, we want our people coming back for service, and we need to make them feel comfortable. I find that greeters in the service drive are a good way to start by, introducing women into the service department. Also, cashiers are very good to bring them out from being behind the scenes, out in front, so that women can see more women in service. It makes them feel more comfortable.
Did you find that when you brought greeters out that was an easy way to have them evolve into a role of an advisor?
It absolutely was a great way for them to move into that role.
Okay. And Craig, I'm not ignoring you, but I'm going back to Lisa.
Yeah.
Lisa, what did you, in the service drive, what did you find?
One of the things when we were talking about this that I didn't bring up, but I think it's critical to build a culture and to build everything, is that we do new owners clinics. And so every 60 days, we do a new owners clinic. And what's most interesting, about 50% of our clients come back to the clinic, and about, I don't know, all of them are women, because the guys, they got this, right? Like they already know what to do with the car, but the women are so appreciative of the fact that we've got that. And so we bring our service manager out and our service advisors, and they get to ask all the questions, and our sales team goes back out and they meet and they get to see their customers again. So I would just put that out there, that I think that that's a best practice, is to do a new owner's clinic, because I think you'll find the majority of your female clients will show up.
Was a new owner clinic for new and pre-owned vehicles purchased?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
then we decided to do them at night, and we called them happy hours.
Happy
So
hour.
women and wine, it all works on the service drive.
Oh, there we go. There we go. How many of you in the audience actually do the new owner clinic still? Raise your hand.
Awesome.
Good.
Okay.
It works.
It's very important. It's also a great recruiting base.
Yeah.
Right? Do you ever find that, Craig?
Sure, absolutely. Go to where the people are. So if you can bring them to you, it's an outstanding move.
Okay. Do you know what's really scary, I think, is the bullet point here, that women continue to report having poor experiences when trying to buy a car. I mean, what do you think most women are faced with? I'm going to go to Lisa. When they walk into your dealership, not into yours.
I was gonna say, not into mine.
Not into mine. Mine was good.
Yeah, right.
But the average dealership, what's that feeling?
I don't know. I just want to say this. I think it's gotten a lot better. But I think that there's still that unknown. And we're going to talk about this, but it's important that your sales team mirrors the demographic of who's coming in the door. So I think women want to, they want to be comfortable with who they work with, and I think they want choices. So I think that would be my best practice for the team, for all of you out there, is to make sure that you've got women on the sales team. So if she wants to work with the female, it's an option. And I'm not saying all women do, but I think that that's just really important, and I think it's a best practice. I think it eases a lot when a woman's got a choice of who she's going to work with versus one of the 12 guys standing out front. That would be for me personally.
Okay. Do you believe this, that women process information different in buying decisions?
Is that my question?
That's
You know
what
it
I'm
is.
gonna go back to you,
I
yeah.
want to go there. Okay, so this is not a blanket statement. I've already been schooled on this, but this is what I believe. This is Lisa-ism. That I think women and men, I think we process information differently. So women tend to be more gatherers, and I'm one of them, right? When I go shopping, I want to look at like 5 different things, and then I'm going to decide. Whereas when my husband goes shopping, he knows he's going in for that white shirt. He's going to go buy it. So men conquer. And so I think that I've I've had sales teams over the years who get so aggravated when they see a woman comes like, oh God, she can't make a decision, da-da-da. I'm like, no, it isn't that she can't make the decision. She's still gathering information, and when it's time, she'll make that decision. But we need to give her the information she needs to make a good decision. And I think that that's where it breaks down a lot of times. That's just my personal opinion, so don't nobody shoot me.
But challenged on this.
Yeah.
I also know that we have to be careful because it's just people are also different.
Yeah.
This is about really improving our hiring practice for people, and that there are individuals that are more plotters, correct? And most importantly, don't get annoyed if someone needs more information, right?
Because here's the deal. I mean, I feel like if they're asking questions, they're going to buy something.
Right.
That's a great signal, isn't it?
That's a better, I mean, I'd much rather the person that asks questions and is gathering information than the one that just walks in and walks back out. I think it's a better prospect.
Oh, I
Again,
agree.
Another Lisaism, but that's just me.
Absolutely. Okay, here is an interesting stat, and this is, I think, what most of us, if anyone in here is working actively in a dealership, you would find that when you run ads, when you place ads, you find that you don't get a lot of women applying. Now, Craig, this is really what you do for a living, is all about recruitment, and he has some interesting stats on that statement.
Right. We found, I'll give you information based on last year, full calendar year. For our clients, we garnered just short of 1 million applications. Now that covers front to back, porters to presidents, but heavily into the sales department, the BDCs and internet sales department and so forth. Just short of 1 million resumes. 470,000 and some change were female. 47% were females that applied for positions at a dealership. Now, to take that one step further, we ended up placing somewhere in the area of 12,500 people in dealerships, only 1,100 of which were female. That's a problem. So there's finding them, getting them to apply is not a problem, and we'll speak to that here a little bit later because I know there's some HR people here and so forth. So that's important, but what you do once they apply, just like an internet lead. It's great to get a bunch of internet leads, but if you can't get them in your dealership, it's a waste of money, yes or no? So yes, right?
Right.
So this is the same thing. You can get women. Now let's get them in and do something with them. We need that talent into the dealership. We need the talent that potentially a woman can bring to the dealership to raise the profitability of our stores. Because that's what we're all here for, is to make more money.
And bottom line, women sell an average of at least 22 cars more a year than an average male salesperson. They also retain their position much longer and be more loyal to a store. So this is not just about saying more women and women culture. It's really about, at the end of the day, it's your ROI. It's stabilizing your growth pattern. So women, well, this is interesting, but women are looking for more of a base salary, especially millennial women. Part of, I think, our problem in the auto industry is we tend to be very black and white. It's like, here's a pay plan. Like it or not, this is the way the auto industry works. Mm-hmm. These are the hours, like it or not. Mm-hmm. So it's like the world, the strongest surviving. And I don't think anyone's going to win on that ticket today. Now, Sherry, you offered some different ideas, didn't you, on pay plans?
We do. And again, it's about recruiting and attracting. And so we did offer more of a base salary to make people feel more comfortable. And so they know they can pay their rent at the end of the month. I mean, I think that's what people are really looking for, is some sort of base stability so that they can build upon it from there. So to just be 100% commission, because that's one of the first things that people ask and they feel uncomfortable about, is that, well, is it just 100% commission? And even if I knew in my heart that they would probably make a lot more money just being on commission, I need them to have the confidence to understand that, yeah, no, we're going to give you a base salary to get going, and then you'll see what the difference is.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I know, Lisa, you had something as well, correct?
Yeah, I did. And so there's 2 different pay plans. We encourage everybody to, for the first 60 days while they're building their pipe, to take that salary plus unit bonus or plus per car bonus. And then at 60 days, we actually do a side-by-side review with them, and we show them, this is what you made. Here's what you would have made if you'd been on straight commission. And we give them the choice, and we say, and then we're going to put the ball in your court. But I'll tell you, in 2012, when we broke every sales record in the world, every one of my salespeople was on the salary plus, because they were millennials, and most of them female, and so they loved it. And the store had a better ROI because of it, and I had a happier, more engaged sales team, because the millennials especially, they didn't care about making X amount. They wanted to make a great living representing a company they were proud of.
Right.
So guys, it's not all about the money. And so security plays a big part in it. And honestly, it ROI is better for the store.
And I'm sure it reduced your turnover too, correct?
Absolutely, the whole bit.
And let's face it too, the old school way of the pay plan is exactly, commissioned and so on. It was easier to enforce that when back years ago there was a lot stronger gross profit on an average on a deal. So
Yeah,
go,
good
Craig.
point.
May I, if I can, and you can Google this all you want, when you leave here, get home, whatever, what employees want and what managers think employees want. These surveys go back 50, 60, 70 years, and they do them every year, and everybody does them, and it all comes down to the same thing. A feeling of being in on things, number one.
Included.
Right. Being recognized for effort and the result from that effort. A career path, a clear one, opportunity to climb the ladder within the dealership if that's what you want. Money is fourth and fifth on every survey.
I agree with that.
Every survey. So that being the case, probably be a good idea to put that in your help wanted ad somewhere when you're looking to recruit women or anyone.
Oh, I was going to say anyone, exactly.
Yeah.
What about our long hours? That's always been a big deterrent, correct? When you're looking at dealerships, it's like, wow, do you want to put in all those hours? What have you guys done to help attract that or change the hour vision?
So even with the base salary and the unit bonus type things, from that we're able to put together some teams and have people actually work together. So if one needs to be off or the hours are a little bit different or they got somebody coming in later that night, there's a team in place so that that customer never gets dropped and the employee never feels like they have to be there 24/7.
Did they get felt a lot of guilt, though, if they didn't do all the hours?
No.
So that's what we're known for, isn't it? Are you sure you deserve your day off?
Yeah.
Sure you're going to do that?
Right.
All right. How about you, Lisa?
We have tried that in the past. Sales is a different animal. At the end of the day, I think the reality is that we're in the retail business. So if you worked at Dillard's or at Macy's or wherever, it's still the retail business. And so I think you've got to be flexible, and you can't guilt them if they're going to take their day off. But that's going to be something you've got to work with your sales managers on. Because from the top, I can say all of that, and I did with the best of intentions, but what I didn't know what was happening sometimes is my sales managers were saying, well, you've only got 10 out. What do you mean you're taking your day off? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's something you've got to manage from the top, in the middle, and to the bottom. So if you say it, you've got to make sure your middle managers are really doing it. Because what I found, and I didn't know it until it was brought to my attention, is that they were doing this whisper campaign. And so it's a hard thing to manage.
What's a whisper campaign?
The whisper campaign is, I know what the schedule says, but you've got 10 cars out. Do you really think you should take off today? And so I think you either do it or you don't do it. Because at the end of the day, we are in the retail business. I'm all about it. I don't believe in the long hours, but it's probably one of the more difficult things that you guys will do in your dealerships to try to really make that work. That's just my personal opinion.
Okay, but let's be honest, too. It's not just the long hours. It's really a lack of productivity during my hours.
Yes.
Right.
All right, so if I actually had something really productive going on during my hours, I could sell more cars and I could probably work less hours.
Like
Exactly
a customer
right.
walking in the front door.
What?
Right.
Right? That's a
Exactly, that
concept.
would be insane. All right. What about with hiring, Craig? Do you find that to be an issue regarding the child care issues?
Oh, there's no question about it. And again, this is really, it's not really gender specific. I was talking to somebody the other day, and the conversation came up about the old days and the 75-hour work weeks. And it really got me thinking. Now, saying this out loud it makes me feel horrible, but it really should affect all of us. I saw 2 of my daughter's baseball games growing up. 2. I saw 2 of my oldest son's baseball games growing up. 2. I saw 2 baseball games of my youngest son's baseball games growing up. 2. I mean, it's ridiculous. And, male, female, it's just we have to have a life. And I to just dovetail what Sherry said, I think wherever possible, teams are just key to be able to. You could actually extend your sales hours, your hours of operation, and work your people less and let them have a life. They'll be there when they need to be there, in my opinion. They know when it's busier. They know what they need to do to make money. And like Lisa said, if you're going to get to the top, you've got to put in the hours regardless of what profession that you're in. So people are going to do what they need to do to make that happen. But yeah, hours are important when it comes to recruiting. It's a must.
I think it's extremely important. And let's talk about career path. I mean, you have so many. Let's start with the role of a receptionist in a dealership. How many receptionists in your dealerships actually sit there when they're at work thinking, wow, I can't wait to move to my next position in the dealership? Usually most receptionists are thinking, what? I can't wait till I go find a real job. And that's a problem. You know, I think our dealerships, our departments are so invisible wall divided from each other. So I know that our panels come up with some really great ideas to help people see a career path, and not just a verbal one, but actually see it in motion.
Joni?
Yeah, please.
Just real quick.
Cool.
I got an opportunity to speak to some of you as you were coming into the room, and the young lady, where's the young lady from Hawaii? Right? You started at where in the dealership? Receptionist. And where did you end up? Service manager.
Awesome.
I'm going to tell you, I've promoted probably 5 receptionists, and one of them, she had 3 jobs. She was homeless, which I did not know, but she was living in her car.
Wow.
And she closed out in 2013 as the number 4 salesperson with Fiat USA in the country. And so I always go to that reception desk, because guess what? They are always the best and the brightest. So congratulations to you, and aloha.
That's awesome.
Right.
Round of applause. Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
All right. We need to be able to recognize talent and stop labeling it.
Yep.
All right, we just do. Absolutely. All right, so career path. I know that you guys have done some other ideas on that regarding career path. Sherry.
I think like Lisa said, and I'm a big advocate of that too, and that is going and finding people that are already working in your stores that really have some talent and are really interested in being there, and really showing them and explaining to them what being part of the dealership and the dealer group is and how it is that you can advance. And another thing I think that is very important about that is like we say about the women. In order for women to feel like they can move forward, they need to see other women in those spots. So again, I go back to the culture commitment and say that, you know, don't underestimate or neglect the talent that you already have in your store. And it shouldn't be just women. Like Lisa says, she goes to her receptionist, and I do the same thing. You know, it's really all about everybody recognizing the talent in the stores. And we really need the guys to really start going out there and looking at the cashiers and looking at the receptionists and seeing what it does take to turn them into future salespeople, future general managers, future service managers.
Yeah.
And not being frightened of talent.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of you have worked for someone and or employ someone that you know is frightened to have somebody brought on staff that might be better than them, potentially?
Oh, come on, raise your hands.
All right, raise your hand. Come on.
Yeah.
All right? I know that in my store. I was like, what happened here? So,
Yeah.
so that's our reality. I know that you've got stories on that, don't you, Craig?
I do. Yeah, I think based on my experience as a man and being 44 years in the car business, it's in my opinion, it's been my experience that not any of the men in here, of course, excluding you fellas, but there are men in the automobile business that would block one of these 2 or one of these 3 women here, because they're afraid. I'm talking real world here, ladies and gentlemen, because I know Sherry, Lisa, Joni are smarter than me. And knowing that, I'm not going to allow them to get a position to take my job. And if you say that out loud, that's a horrible thing. And that's got to stop. And that's got to stop. And I think I've seen enough of it happen. I've been around it enough to know that it's true. And that's got to go in a different direction. That career path has got to be clear to females, that they can succeed. Because again, it's about talent. If the promotion is between Lisa and myself, and whoever's making that decision is who is going to bring the most profitability, additional profit to the store, Lisa or me. And that's how the decision gets made.
I've had a couple clients do some, I think, really unique ways to open those doors, which is to host more or less open house within departments. So once a month, the dealership will say, hey, from 7 o'clock until 9 o'clock, anyone from any of the departments can come in and meet department heads. So I'm a receptionist. I feel comfortable to walk in and meet someone that's in the parts department or in finance and just talk openly about who and what exists and how they got there. Because don't forget, we do have these invisible walls, and people feel intimidated. And part of their limited career path is that they can only see what's right in front of them. Okay. So I love this next one because I don't think many car dealerships think about it. Usually when a dealer tries to set up a competitive compensation plan or HR benefits, they look at other dealers to be competitive, as opposed to also looking at other industries. And I know, Craig, I'm going back to you, but I think that that's a big one on your recruiting, correct?
Sure, absolutely is. You know, we get dealers, they want the next, tremendous superstar salesperson or whomever, employee. And then we start talking about benefits packages and comp packages and so forth, and they're offering the same thing that the assistant to the assistant manager at Burger Doodle is offering. That's not going to work.
But with a lot of opportunity.
So and there's a lot of controllers in this room, and comptrollers and office managers. I spoke to some, and the dealers and what have you. It's all a matter of percentages. So however you arrive at it, you have to make it attractive enough in that total comp package to bring in a more diverse group of people and to bring in more female talent into your dealership. It's important.
So really all this is multiple layers, correct?
Indeed.
Okay. I know we hate to use these two words, but it's something that should be on the table, and that's sexual harassment, that lawsuit risk. So, Lisa, at your dealership, you had some great preventative measures. Tell us a little bit about that.
We did. So we've got 4 stores, and what we did was we broke our teams into management and into sales and support, right? So sales and support would be front and back. They attended one meeting, and every year we do this, and we have an attorney. She's fantastic, and we've been doing it for 4 years. But she comes in and she does a seminar for the management. And for the management, the seminar is, this is what sexual harassment is. Don't do these things because it could be construed as, right? Because sometimes we just don't know, because some of it's so dumb. It's like, well, really? So there's that. And then the second seminar for the employees is, this is what, or the support teams, this is what sexual harassment is and is not. Because we want them to know what it is not. Because that's so important, because it can destroy a career. And it happens to men and women. So I don't just want to say the women are the only ones sexually harassed. So we really try to make sure everybody understands. And it's a good protective measure. But a lot of times, it's amazing what comes out in these things. And what people conceive or perceive as one thing isn't what they really think it is. And so I think it's just really important that we let our teams and our dealerships know what it is and what it isn't, and then give them a safe place to be able to go and handle it if it does fall to what it is. And I think that it sets a good tone for the organization.
And I think, Sherry, you talked before, too, a lot about just not ignoring. It's recognizing but not ignoring, and sometimes just putting up with things that happen in a store, correct?
Yeah, and I think that this is something that when I talk about the culture and really wanting to change the culture in the store, because as Lisa says, I do the same thing in my store. I'm sure everybody here does the same thing, where you bring in the trainer, they talk about the sexual harassment, what it is, what it isn't. But there's also, and I'm not going to say hostile work environment, but I think that we all understand sometimes what it's like to be maybe the only woman standing outside on the lot waiting for an up to come in when there's 10 other guys standing out there too. And that's the type of thing that I think that when I talk about culture changes, those are some of the real world things that we really need to change if we really want to have women on our sales floor. Because even as a female general manager, and even working and trying to protect as many women as I can when they come into the dealership, there's still that sales people that get together and kind of, can sometimes make it uncomfortable. And I think that is really the core of the things that we really need to change if we want to see more women lasting on our sales force.
Absolutely. Craig, I can see you're chomping at the...
I am. And this just hit me, and I probably have, myself and my company have, hundreds of thousands of people, social media followers, and maybe I need new friends on social media. But yesterday on Facebook, there was, and please, I don't mean any disrespect, but this is how crazy this is. And I don't know if anybody saw this. At a dealership, it was a guy's birthday or something, and they were in the break room, and it was just a bunch of guys, and they had a cake, and the cake was women's breasts. Anybody happen to see this yesterday on Facebook?
Gee, I'm sorry, I missed that.
And yeah, right? And it was this guy's birthday.
I do think you need new friends, okay?
And they pushed his head into this cake. Now, that is not a culture that's going to be conducive to women. It's not, and that's got to change. That's got to change. Now, whose fault is that? I mean, how does that get to that point? You know, it's just a good old boy thing. It's like, haha, that's funny. But that's gross. It's ridiculous. It's archaic.
You need some new friends.
I need new friends. I'm going to start following your people. I'm grabbing all your friends. Your friends are cooler.
Okay, but we all know that really starts at the top.
It does.
I mean,
does,
it starts
that's
at the
right.
top.
It does.
No
know.
question.
So, and I think so many times we need to go into our dealership, and when you leave and you go back and just close your eyes and stand on your showroom floor and listen to what's being said. And there's a lot that goes on. We have to be careful of the old threats. I know that there's a lot of dealerships, and they live under this fear factor. You know, so people aren't going to stay if they're worried always about, you know, if you do that, you're going to lose your job. This can happen. So we can't be a threatened world, and certainly not like that.
Right.
Right. I'm thinking there was recently I went out and I was shopping for a car, and this experience I think just it blows you away because this is not the year 2006 or 1990 and so on. But going out looking for a vehicle and was with another individual, a male. So we got a male and a female shopping for a car. Pull up at the dealership, get out of the vehicle, and greeted by a sales associate. I kid you not, the sales associate could not look me in the eye. It was just directing all attention to the male. Even though I said the car's for me, I'm buying it my own, big kid, still kept talking directly to the male. It's like I had to truly force them to let me take a test drive. So test drive, couple cars, start walking back to my potential trade, and all of a sudden, the sales manager comes walking out of the building. And he more or less comes up and says, hey, what do I need to do to sell you a car? And I said, tell me my name, and I'll buy the car I just test drove for full sticker, if you can tell me my name. And I'm telling you, I know I laugh, but I would have tried to guess my name because full sticker would have meant a lot. I would have been like, Julie, Ginny, Mary? No, nothing. He just stood there in shock. I thought, come on. So we have to look at his basic principles, too. You know, your eye contact, your meet, your greet. Women still report such bad experiences when they shop for a car. And, you know, we were talking about it. So when you go and you're a man and a woman walks onto your lot, we really believe that eye contact should first go to the woman. Regardless, it should always go to the woman. She's influencing over 80% of all buying decisions. If that female doesn't want to really engage in the buying process, at that point of the first connection, she'll guide you. Trust me. So, all right, I know we talked about sexual harassment. We'll move on. We have this old boy culture. How did you change the old boy culture?
I put a girl in charge.
That's a girl.
Chicken charge.
All right? I mean,
That was it.
Here's the sheriff, and here's how it's going to go.
Yeah, but there's another thing about you being the sheriff. Sheriff, did you have an office upstairs in the back?
No, my office is on the showroom floor, but I'll tell you guys, I started 28 years ago at the #1 in sales, the #1 domestic store in the country, and in Dallas, and there was 100 salespeople, 99 and me, and I had to beg to get the job. And so, I say that to say it's that, you know, I think that we have got to set the pace in our store, that we're inclusive to men, to women, to minorities, to millennials, that we have an inclusive culture. Not just inclusive to women, but just inclusive, period. And I think that happens by mixing up who we hire. We need to hire women, we need to hire minorities, we need to hire millennials, we need to hire people in the gay and lesbian community. Like, we need a popcorn bowl in this culture and in this industry for it to truly move forward and to inspire people to want to buy cars from our organization. It's my pitch, but I believe that to my soul.
Amen.
You too. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Lack of training to address the needs of a woman car buyer. Sherry, what can we do on that?
You know, training is key, and I think that also by, you know, bringing more women into the sales process and on the sales floor, that a lot of that will be resolved, because we keep talking about, you know, addressing women, respecting women. Women influence 80% of the decision. You know, more women in the dealership is going to make a difference.
All right, and I hope nobody would do this, but I mean, talk about lack of trust, feeling disrespected, and talked down to. Wow. All right, women are not the people that are only picking out the color and the trim on vehicles, guys. Okay.
You know, but if I just say one thing,
Yeah.
I heard this years ago, and it's always stuck with me. If you take your experience in your dealership, if you delight her, everyone else is going to be happy underneath. So if you always set that bar in your organization, whether it's in sales or service, with the expectation that you're going to give a woman the world-class service that she wants and deserves, everything else is good. You know, you have met the expectations of everyone else, which would be the men. I'm just kidding. But seriously. And so I think it's just a great bar to put out there. And it isn't that women need any different service. We just have different expectations.
And I think you mentioned it before too. It's saying, so if the process or the experience on the sales side wasn't as positive as they had thought, and you're struggling with getting that process down into a more positive light, then at least don't ignore your service portion. Because if the service side works very smoothly, you can retain that customer for life, and we know that. Sherry, anything that you've done in relating, say, that sales to the service side?
Again, on the service side, having more women in the service drive and making women feel comfortable in the service drive is worth its weight in gold. And a female service manager, it's amazing. I did do a job over the summer and I worked as a service director, and I walked around and I talked to women that were in the service department, and I asked them how they felt about things and what they thought about things, because one of the things that I noticed in the service drive was that it wasn't reflective of the customers. I mean, 50% of the customers that came into the drive were women, yet they didn't have a single female service advisor. You know, one of the very first things that we did, like I said, was go and grab some of the cashiers and turn them into greeters and just have them start meeting and greeting the women when they came into the dealership. And all of a sudden, they just felt more comfortable. It's just a little bit more of an easy feeling, a more relaxed, a more trusting.
Greg, did you want to say something?
Yeah, again, I happened to talk to a couple gentlemen here, a service director and parts director, I believe, and we were talking, and I said, do you have a female service advisor? Said he did. She was awesome. Put her in a different role. Doesn't have one now. I said, why? And what did you say? Do you recall? Right. Got trouble finding them. Right? And just so, but I think, if I'm reading you right, I think you're going to leave here and you're going to make a commitment to do that, right? And we'll help to, by the end of this, we'll give you some exact ways to do that. But you understand it, you want it, it's just a matter of committing to do it, yes? Right.
Intentional hiring.
Right, intentional.
Right.
Correct.
I love this line. Women want what men want, right? How many women are in here? Let's repeat that together. Women want what men want. That's right. Let's rally this thing. Okay. I mean, it's true. This is about creating that culture, but also recognizing that we're all on the same mission. We all want that respect. We want to be able to walk into a dealership and know that we're treated as best as anybody could be, and not certainly greeted in other ways. Women love to see other women in leadership roles. Now, I know that, at least at your dealership, there was a reason why a lot of other women started to apply, correct?
Yes. And so, I'm somebody who's very intentional. You know, I never came back in the industry. I got out because I had to, because I needed to raise my kids, and I came back because I wanted to. They were both in college. But, you know, I've been a big advocate across the country in hiring women in the auto industry, but they've got to see you out there, right? And so you've got to have women in leadership roles, because if you hire her and she doesn't see anybody at the next level in finance or sales manager, or God forbid, one of the 4% of the general managers in the country, where does she really have to go? I mean, really, women are smart. We're intuitive. We know. What is the career path? You can say anything that you want to say, but if you don't live it out as an organization and you're not authentic about it, it's just words. And I'm sorry, we're pretty smart as women. And we can read through a bunch of words really quickly, and we're going to move on to the next organization that does value women and does value women in the automotive industry. And there's a lot of them out there. Let me say that. There are a lot of them out there.
There absolutely are. And I think that this next bullet point is so true, and it goes back to the teamwork. We're talking about split schedules, teams in the sales side. Women do tend to prefer to work as a team. And I think that's very important. If you can present that as people are applying, it would make it a more advantageous viewpoint for taking that job. The types of words we use, what we say, they do matter. I know that Craig is going to give us specific words shortly on how to advertise more effectively to attract more women and different candidates. Mentoring. How many of you in this room have been involved in any kind of mentoring program and or host any type of... well, hi there.
Oh, okay. Jody DeVere.
Jody DeVere. There was another hand. Okay, the woman over there. Tell us a little bit about what your experience or what you do, or what. Nice.
Oh, cute.
We love your accent. Do you have the mic?
Perspective is 1 against 50, which is quite interesting, but I guess that put me in a position where, being within the luxury automotive group, that a lot of females throughout the BMW dealerships knew my position and knew how I got there and could rely on me to give them advice. And I also completed the first management course that they did as well, so started up the mentoring process within the country as well.
Okay, wonderful. Fantastic.
Terrific. Good for you.
Okay, anyone else mentoring? No? All right, well, there's a good starting point for all of us when we go back. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, it doesn't have to take you away from your other priorities, but mentoring is really important. It's important to lead and to guide. Craig, anything you've seen out there on mentoring?
Well, yeah, it's a matter, it's all our jobs. Everybody at a dealership, I think it's important that we all mentor someone under us, regardless of gender. It's important to help someone. If our focus is to sell and service more automobiles and become more profitable, it only makes sense to help someone that's new into the field, new into the dealership, new into the position, and help him or her. And let's bring them up and sell more cars, make more money.
Okay. And I know, Lisa, you want to say something on your mentoring program?
Well, I just want to ask, how many women and men in this room are sales managers or higher?
Raise your hand, Tom.
Raise your hand high, because these lights are
can't
like
see.
killing me. Okay, so I want to say this. You have a responsibility, right? We're all building our automotive legacy. You have a responsibility to tell your story. And when you hire people, I'm the final say on who gets hired, but I tell them my story. I started out as a car salesman. I'm not a dealer's wife or a dealer's daughter, and I worked my way to become a dealer principal. And my story has been tough, but it inspires people. And every one of you have got a story out there, right? It's your autobiography, it's your legacy. You've got to share that. That's as big as mentoring. When people hear my story that I was a car salesman in Dallas, Texas, and now I'm a dealer principal, like, it inspires these young people, not just women, but men. And so I just want to encourage you not only to mentor, but to tell your story. How did you get to that seat? You never know, one thing, who's listening. And you never know how it could change somebody's life. And I've seen it over and over again. So it's not magic or voodoo that I do when I talk to people or hire them. I just tell them my story. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But again, you never know who's listening and who you'll inspire. So if you don't have time to mentor somebody, tell everybody who will listen to you how you got there. Because that's your legacy. It's your story.
And don't forget, you all do have a story.
Absolutely,
All right.
we do.
Sometimes we think, well, I'm just a sales manager. Guys, that's a story. Trust me.
You got there somehow.
Absolutely. Sherry, what do you want to say?
No, I
good?
agree completely with what Lisa
I
said.
thought your face was saying.
I started as a DMV clerk myself.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow, and you're kind of happy because most DMV people are not very friendly.
Hey, that's a generalization.
I don't understand that. Sorry, that's a generalization. Woo! All right. Yeah, we have to make people comfortable when buying and servicing their vehicles. And I think we brought up some great points in there. I love the greeter end. Now, let's get into things that are more specific here with regards to recruiting and hiring and training. We said it before, words are important. What we say is important. So I'm going to turn to Craig for words that work. In order to recruit women, first they have to find your help wanted ad. So there are keywords to use in job descriptions to attract women from female. That was bad. From female-dominated industries. Too many words. That was bad.
Right. And if you could, write some of this stuff down, because these are things that you can actually go back to the dealership and change now, like right away. In writing, see, the way the world works now, it's gotten away from someone's looking for a job or career, instead of going to Monster, Career Builder, what have you, they're searching for information like we all search for information. We go to what? Google. If I'm looking for a job, I'm going to Google it. So your words in your help wanted ad, starting with the title and then the description and the tag words at the bottom, have to correspond with what the job applicant, the job seeker, calls themselves on their resume. Well, let me give you a quick example just for a title, and then we'll move on from there, and I'll do this quickly because there's a lot of information. But how many people in the audience, the sales staff, they're called something like product specialists? Anything like that? Right. Okay. Well, and that's fine. That's great. Call them that in-house. But when you're going to find them, no one's going to call themselves a product specialist on their resume. Make sense? So you would use, and write this down, Google Fights. Google Fights, like
FIGHTS?
Right. Exactly. It's a cute little thing. It's like Google Trends, but it's not owned by Google. But you can put 2 words in there. They fight to see which word is stronger. Like the difference between sales representative and sales consultant or product advisor or whatever other stuff we call people inside the dealership. Use it real quick, and it'll give you a no-brainer way to use the words that work. Then the body of the ad. Now this is just something that's a sweet spot. It's a little extra. I'm going to give extra sauce. I'm going to give you whatever you use in your title. Let's say sales representative. If you're looking for multiples, don't use plural. Get rid of the S, because again, on the resume, they don't call themselves the sales representatives. Don't use sales rep. Use the root word. Does that make sense to you guys? Yes or no? Thank you. Great. All right. And then you're going to use that a total of 6 times in the ad. That word, sales representative. It's once in the title, 4 or 5 times in the body of the ad, once in the tag words. If you're looking to attract women service advisors, women in any role, we have to think about what industries are female dominated. As an example, customer service, female dominated industry. Retail sales, female dominated industry. Real estate agents, female dominated industry. So what I would use perhaps as an exact statement, to be a top-notch salesperson here at Awesome Motors, we found that people that were real estate agents just do a terrific job here and really excel. So that would be the words that work throughout your ad. Does that make sense to you folks? Yes or no? Say yes.
What if we said no?
Right, I don't give them that option. So we want to use the words that work. So when you go back, Google female-dominated industries. I gave you 3 coffee baristas at Starbucks, right? The 63, 64% of the coffee baristas at Starbucks are female. So if you want them, that's where they're at. So let's go find where they're at.
Okay, any questions on that? On the specific wording? Yes.
Sure. Yes. Absolutely. I'm going so far as to suggest you say coffee baristas from Starbucks. That's how far I'd go, and I'd put it in the tag words at the bottom of the ad too. But to answer your question specifically, to be a top sales representative here at Awesome Motors, we have found that people that have come out of the real estate industry or that were real estate agents just do a terrific job and go through the ranks quickly or worse to that effect. Tell a story with your words. Use the word sales representative, pick it from the title, and then use female-dominated industries. They're more likely to find your ad. That's why the gentleman, the service director I was speaking to said, I can't find the people. That's because the ad's not written properly. Use female-dominated industries in your ad, in the description. Women will find your ad and they will apply, I promise you. 47% of the 1 million people resumes that we got last year were female. There's a reason, because that's how we do it.
Any other questions on that?
You're welcome.
You good? Okay, so let's say that we run this ad and now, wow, we get all these female applicants. So now the next thing is we need pointers on how we interview. I believe that's huge. And, well, you again, sir?
Yeah, interviews. I made this mistake a zillion times early in my career. I would interview every single person based on who they were, their age, their sex, their nationality, their race, I would judge a book by its cover. I was like the author of that book, right? So every single interview was different. So I ended up making almost a mistake 90% of the time. I would hire the wrong person. You have to create an interview, regardless of the department, that is, in my opinion, scripted, word for word, so you can differentiate one applicant to the next. This, again, I'm talking real world with you, ladies and gentlemen. The people that I have out in the field, they hear the final interviews, and they hear men interviewing women for potential sales positions and saying stuff like, so, does your hubby know you're here? You're going to get hit on, you're pretty hot. Do you mind, does the F-bomb bother you at all? I mean, sir, say that out loud. I mean, first of all, it's all illegal, but it's insane, right? Scripted interview, bang, everybody's the same. Make it simple, and that interview's important. We spend a fortune on internet leads, right? But the people that really make us the money, the real ROI, is our people. It's our human capital. Absolutely. So we have to get them, got to interview them properly and professionally and put them to work.
Absolutely. Sherry, what did you do as far as anything specific on the interviewing process?
I think what Greg is saying is really, really important as far as the scripted interview, the same, asking the same questions and getting the different reactions. And he also touched on another point that I'd like to touch on that's real world too, and that is don't try to find the female salesperson that can fit into the boys club.
Amen.
I mean, that is what a lot of guys try to do, or a lot of people that I work with in my experience that I've come across.
Yes.
And so it's a matter of, does she have tough enough skin to be able to listen to the words? Is she going to be able to work the hours? Is she going to be able to take it with all the different guys? Because that's not changing your culture, and that's not going to create anything that's a long-term thing. And a lot of times those employees end up being the ones that we don't want anyway. And so I agree, again, with the consistent questions. I think that's incredibly important. And then, really think about what it is that you're looking for when you're hiring. And I like Lisa's word, intentional hiring. Yep. I think that's really important.
A lot of people in here would be thinking, so if I don't hire a female, let's say, to fit into my male culture, and I hire someone that what is the opposite? I mean, how do they do that?
Well, it's not so much the opposite, but what I'm saying is don't specifically look for someone that just fits that culture. And again, we'll go back to, Craig saying judge a book by its cover. You want to make sure you're getting the best candidate to represent the demographic of your area on your sales floor. That's really what the most important thing is.
Lisa, I know you want to give some input here.
Yeah, so I do agree with the standard questions, but I'll tell you this. I usually handle the last interview, so it goes through two. But my thing is what is their why? Yes, you have to ask the standard question, sure. But what is their why? Because we're not in the car business, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the people business. Mm-hmm. And so we have to create a culture that we're in the people business. So what is their why? And that's what I want to know. Why are you here? Because I love cars. Every time I hear that, I'm like, it's probably not going to work out between you and I. Because we're not in the car business. We're in the people business. So I think as important as these questions are, and they're a must, you've got to interview to your culture. And so I wrote the whole Fiat USA plan on the book Zappos Delivering Happiness. So we put on our door our core beliefs. Do more with less. Give an unbelievable experience. If the people you're looking at, number one, you have to define what your culture is quickly, and then you ask people that you're going to hire, what is your why, and does that why fit into your culture and your personal mission statement as an organization? Because if it doesn't, I don't care how many cars they sell, they're never going to make it because their values and your values are never going to align. So again, I take it from a different approach. I do believe everything is absolutely true, and I actually let all my managers take those questions. But if they get past them and they get to me, it's like, what is your why? Why do you want to be here? Is it to revolutionize the auto industry? Is it to give the best customer experience? That's great, and that you love people, I can train you. But just because you love cars and you grew up, you're probably not going to fit into my culture. So and again, that comes down to defining what your culture is.
What about personality tests? What have you used? Do you guys recommend them? Yes, no?
Yeah.
We'll start back with Sherry.
I flip-flop on them.
You flip-flop?
I
You're
do.
a flip-flopper. Hi.
Hi. I like them. If it does not, if A, you don't make that's the only determining factor on a hire, because that's wrong. Use it as a part of the tool and then a management tool as you go along. And plus, you don't wait 10 days to take it before you get them started. That when they go, there's some HR people here. There's absolutely no reason in the world why you can't interview, onboard, and put a person to work within 3 or 4 days in an automobile dealership, in my opinion.
Does that happen in your stores, guys? Raise your hand if you can do that in 3-4 days. Is that true? Because there's some stores I work with that it is much longer than that.
Right,
so.
and it's just a shame. I mean, these people need to go to work, and you need them to go to work. They're not making you any money if they're not working. So let's get them to work.
And your feeling on personality tests?
I don't do personality, but we do basic assessments. You know, I need to see what their core competencies are. I need to know that they can write an email and that they can communicate well.
Right.
But personality, I think I'm a pretty, you know, I've been around long enough. I think I'm a pretty good read on people because, again, once you find out what their why is, you're going to know everything about them, right?
Okay, so something I think is really interesting, and I want you to look at the ads that you're running and what you offer to candidates. Do you offer any type of college reimbursement, college tuition reimbursement? That's a really great hook today. I know that, Craig, you're definitely seeing an influx, right?
Yeah, and again, please write this down. Think about this. Here's some basic statistics, and this is killing 3 birds with 1 stone here. Last year, there were 17 million college graduates in the United States of America, with an average of 32,000. They leave school with 2 things: a degree and an average of a little over $32,000 in student debt. And only 17% of those people have a job offer in their major. That spells gigantic opportunity for us. Gigantic. So, if you want to hire women, and I would assume that some of you are here because of that, more women go to school longer than men, and more women graduate from college than men. Okay? So, and typically, people that graduate from college are in what pigeonhole? Millennials, right? So people that say millennials are coming, that's baloney. The millennials are here. So we better, and half the audience here is millennial. We better figure out how to deal with y'all. And like buy from like, so if I'm running a dealership, I'm going to have millennials. And I'm going to have females. And I'm going to find a way to, as a hook in my ad. It used to be, when I got in the car, the only reason I got in the car business is because I got a free car. Now, I can't believe those knuckleheads gave me, a 19-year-old kid, a free car. It was ridiculous. My hair was down to here, and I wore platform
That's why we don't give those anymore.
That's right. I'm the soul. I'm sorry. It's my fault. Yeah. So if you want to use a hook, and you want to get millennials, you want to get females, you want to get college grads, that's a pretty good employee. College tuition reimbursement program. I don't care how you put it in their pay plan. Again, it's all a percentage of gross profit anyway. So you can structure it however you want, and as long as the percentage is going to make you profitable, figure it out. But that you want a hook, you want women to apply.
That's a great
Put
hook.
that in your ad.
That's a great hook. That's a great hook. And I know that we talked a little bit about this, and we'll bring it up. I think a lot of us, when it comes to hiring, regardless of for what department in the auto industry, is that we're very reactive. We tend to hire when we need people. And that puts us in a very vulnerable position. So that's why, it's like the old joke, but man, we don't replace some people because we're afraid we're going to hire the same person back. At the end of the day, we get so desperate, we're putting a mirror underneath them to see if they're breathing and going, I like them, bring them in. So we need to be careful, and we need to create what I know that my associates consider as a bench. And Lisa, I think that was a big thing you strive for, right, was to have people on the bench ready to roll.
Yeah, you've got to have them ready to roll. I mean, I tell them every day, I was ready to retire. And so I want someone to be able to take my job, but they have to start somewhere. And so I just want to encourage everybody out there. We do reviews more often, and I just try to have conversations with strategic people that I know could be something someday. But that's our role as the leader, is to help them map out where you think their strengths are, and give them some ideas and a career path to go to the next level. Because without a bench, I can't retire. My sales manager can't be promoted. My F&I guy can't go up into the director's spot because there's no one to take his or her spot. My service manager can't go from manager to director because there's no one to take his spot. And whose fault is that? Ours, mine as the ultimate leader, but as the department heads. And so to Joni's point, you've got to be thinking forward when you're looking at your organization and do some strategic planning. I mean, we do that a lot with forecasting. If I'm going to sell 20% more cars per my forecast in January this year, but I'm a Fiat dealer, so you know that doesn't happen right now. But anyways, but it's, then you have to forecast for an increased employees. It's all about making a plan in life. And
Right.
so our business is no different.
Okay. Anything on that, Sherry?
You make a good point. We're talking about sales too, and I think we can all agree on this when we talk about the mentoring and the bench and everything. Is we have a major shortage of technicians. I mean, I think across the
major.
board,
It's terrible.
is a major shortage of technicians, and this is a perfect example of not lining up the bench. A lot of our technicians that we do have are senior. We don't have people coming in behind them. It's an industry-wide situation, and this is the perfect example for mentoring and bringing people in and establishing that bench.
And this technician thing, for everybody in this room who knows that, it is about to hit critical mass. So
Right.
it's going to be a major disruption in our industry and not for the good.
Now, I don't know if who's aware of this, and this, unfortunately, as far as I know, only takes place inside the U.S., and I know there's a lot of people outside the U.S. in this room right now, but in the U.S., every single state, and they hide this money, but every single state, if you hire a veteran, you're going to get a tax break. With just that. But there is money per employee, and it's substantial. It's substantial money. We're talking about $2,000 or $3,000 that the federal government will give you if you hire a vet, put them to work, and they're at your dealership for a year.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another word
money.
you want to put into the ad, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, no question about it. And there's a lot of females working on vehicles in the military.
Well, and can I also say, it's veterans, to your point. It's a tax credit because we got a huge one last year, but it's
Right.
also for minorities.
Right.
And so there's a form that they fill out in Texas, and so I don't know for every state, but I know in Texas, and so you are given tax credits for not women, but for minorities,
Right.
for veterans. So there's a lot of protected segments of people that, if you'll open your thought process to,
Yes.
not only are you doing better for your culture and your people, but you're also going to save some money with the tax man.
Okay, fantastic. What is this whole bullet here about? You must strive to promote women to the C-suite. Women need to see other women in role models. What does that mean?
That one's mine too.
Yes,
C-suite,
ma'am.
right? And so
What is that?
What is the C-suite in the automotive industry? It's general managers. There's only 4% in the country, and I don't know about around the world. I mean, every other country in the world has elected a woman president, and we haven't. So maybe the numbers are better around the world than they are in the U.S. But yeah, that was a dig. But anyways, but women need to see women in leadership positions to have something to aspire to. I never did, and so I'm kind of a weird statistic, but how many young women in this room are, wanting to go to the top of the chain?
Yeah, and how many women actually see a pathway to get there?
Yeah,
Right.
you see a
Exactly.
pathway to get there. And do you have somebody to talk to about it? Have you heard somebody's story? And so I just think as leaders in the industry, we need to have not only women, but minorities sitting in these strategic positions, because then that's going to open the door for hiring more women and minorities, which is going to make the automobile business a whole lot better place, and we're going to sell more cars.
Right, and you ladies, and just speaking to your ladies, you have the opportunity right now to be sitting in the same room with not just a dealer principal, not just a big dealer principal, but the #1 Fiat dealer in the world, female dealer principal. So if you want something to shoot for, there you go.
Get a Chevy franchise. You want something to shoot for, gotta help Fiat. Anyways.
But it can be done.
Anything is obtainable, guys. It truly is.
It is.
All right, we have to develop a strategic plan to create a culture to win with women. I know you keep saying that over and over again. Sherry, walking out of here, if you were someone sitting in the seat, what would you say would be the first thing to do?
I think that really you should identify your culture and what it is that you need in your store to work for you, to be representative of the demographics that come into your store. I think that women throughout all the departments are incredibly important, and seriously look at why that is not happening in your stores if it's not. And if it is, then you're doing a great job.
Okay, so that's more or less your one. What would be two? You had said, Lisa. So she's saying mentally, really put this thought pattern in, take a look at what you have, what you don't have, and be realistic with yourself,
Right.
then what did you would say you would do?
Well, I'm going to say I think the number one reason things don't get done is because we all have the greatest ideas and we come to NADA, but we don't take action.
Right.
And so it can seem pretty overwhelming. It can seem pretty overwhelming to think, how am I going to change my culture overnight? You don't have to change it overnight. It's baby steps. So I just want to recommend the book, Zappos, Delivering Happiness. And it's a great way to see how Zappos built their culture and the transparency that's in there, like at our dealership, like they write on the walls, I've got to achieve happiness, the whole bit. Just take one idea. Take one idea a month and just implement it. So Rome was not built in a day, but if your employees and your team see you moving forward and you make that stake in the ground, I think you're going to see a more happy and engaged workforce. And if you say it out loud, then they're going to hold you accountable, as they should.
Aren't you also saying to put it in written form?
Oh, I'm all about writing.
I mean, I think that's huge.
I mean, it's literally written on the walls in my dealership. It's every piece of paper they get. It's what is our culture. And here's the funny thing. I got to meet Jen Lim and Tony Shea, and who founded Zappos. They came to my dealership. And they're like, but those are our core values. I'm like, well, hell yes. I read the book. I stole them. Sue me. But, it works. We're the number one store in the world, and you guys are the number one shoemaker or, distributor in the world. And so steal someone else's. Who cares? But write it on the walls and hold yourself accountable.
Okay, so make it visible, right, and get commitment. And then, Craig, I know you want to say something about that end.
Yes, when you leave here, we are an industry filled of, we'll do it, well, let's wait till the end of the year, let's do it at the beginning of the year, let's do it at the start of the month, the end of the month, the end of the quarter. I'll do it when I get this person in place, that person in place. Napoleon Hill said, act now, the time will never be just right.
Good one.
So you have to take action. You have to leave here, and like Lisa said, it doesn't have, everything doesn't, you just don't trash everything overnight, but go back to your stores and do something. Make a change. Go forward. If you're not going forward, you are going backwards, for sure.
Okay. All right, there's some other examples real quick about things in the community, right? I believe that all of you have mentioned that you've done in the community to then really have that exposure, which also attracted females to want to join in or buy cars.
Buy cars.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Sherry, anything on that? I know Lisa has. Sherry, let's start with you.
Yeah, actually, we started a women's business council in our area and offered up our conference room as a place for them to meet, and that
Nice.
became very successful, and the majority of them bought cars from us. I mean, maybe not right away, but, these are the types of seeds that we plant, and then over time,
That's a great idea.
cultivate them into customers.
That's a great idea. Okay, good. Lisa?
So my personal mantra is it's not what you sell, it's what you stand for. And so I made a decision 5 years ago that we would take a stand in the community, that we were for women and we supported women and we support women's causes. And again, everybody else will come. And so there's a lot of people driving Fiats that would not have, but women are all about supporting women. So it isn't what you sell, it's what you stand for. So stand for something great and stand for women in your community.
So I know that we need to obviously set this quota to recruit and train. Training is a huge stumbling block in an awful lot of stores. You just said it, very funny, Craig, but it's true. It's kind of like, yeah, well, we'll get to training later. It's almost a secondary thought process. We know that training needs to be something that is not only done, but it's on a repetitive basis. But how did you guys make that work in a realistic day-to-day operation when it's usually something that's put on the back burner?
That's commitment. That's leadership commitment. And, training is where it all starts. So, we had formalized training schedules that managers met, and I myself also did a lot of training. So it's the commitment to making the training happen.
How much time, though? How much time truly, did you find that you could set aside on a daily basis or weekly, or what did you do?
Again, you divide and conquer. So different managers do different things, but it's about the commitment. So if I'm going to have an hour-long training class, it's going to be an hour-long training class.
Okay. And I think, Lisa, you did something a little different, wasn't it?
Yeah, 10
Morning
minutes
and
in the morning and 10 minutes at night, and it could just be snippets because that's how people learn. We live in an on-demand society, and I'll give a shout out to NADA. I think all of this is going to be on their university, and there's a lot of good trainings out there, but use them. We work so hard in the business sometimes that we don't see outside the business. And so I just want to encourage you guys to do that.
Yeah, I've always said we work hard, we don't work smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
We're an industry
Did
of
you
it.
want to say something, Craig?
No?
Okay, good.
I'm good.
Funny. All right, invest in training for your staff to better communicate with women. Stay on current market trends. I think this is interesting. We had talked about it before, but are you even aware of what percentage of women buy cars from you, say new vehicles? Do we know those stats? Is it important? Okay. So we have just a few minutes for some other questions before I wrap up. Who's got some questions for us? Yes. Do you have the microphone? Vanna White, microphone, please. So on behalf of the team, I want to say thank you and enjoy NADA.
Thank you.